No.
It's time for Star Wars Reporter Podcast.
Bum, bum, bum.
That was my
That was
idiot
epic.
who's run out of ideas introduction to the Star Wars Reporter Podcast. I am your old bearded fat host, Wookie Steve, and I am joined today by a whole crew tonight. Look at we're running out of room on the screen.
There's lots of scoundrels
awesome.
tonight.
I know, lots of facial hair, lots of testosterone. We're manly. We're gonna like Vikings, and we're Darths. We're Revenges. We're Todd, and we're gonna have a lot of fun tonight. So I'll introduce everyone tonight. We're gonna start with our returning. We're actually shocked he is returning, but a returning guest. Here we go.
Hey, there he is.
Darth Lobo.
Thanks, everyone.
You
Happy
also
to be
like to
back.
call him-
Excited to get into it.
The overall IQ of this panel now went up exponentially
Yeah,
now.
I
With
was going to
Darth
say,
Lobo.
we have somebody who actually has some intelligent, conversation to share finally.
Everybody's tuning into the perfect show tonight for sure.
Yeah.
I like it. Speaking of perfect show,
Yes, I'm over here melting away in the massive heat wave. We've got set records here where I live, and I am dying here. I'm my biggest fan right here. So if you see it fall over, it's okay. But yes, he's a big fan of the show too, Steve. So yeah, we're excited to be here.
I have to say this right away before anyone else makes this joke. I'm looking at you right now, and all I'm thinking is, forget about it.
Forget about it,
Forget
man.
about it.
Well, see, it's so hot. I did an experiment. I had to cool down. I jumped in a cold shower. I slicked my hair back. Because one thing about my hair, it poofs up into an afro. So this is like an experiment for the viewers.
yes.
If we do a time lapse later on, maybe we'll see my hair get all curly by the end. I'm sure it won't look like this by the end. So I'm excited to see what's going to happen with it.
That's exciting. It was better than my idea of seeing how long it'd be till I'm shirtless. So,
There you go.
and going on to Revenge of the Jason.
Hey, man, it's good to see everybody. For this one, actually, for the last few podcasts, every time we start this, I put you see my tremendous headgear, my
Yes.
larger than Princess Leia bun, low bodish headgear.
It's not about the
I'm
size,
like,
but go on.
oh, that's all I got, man. No, but I'm really, every time we do this, I'm like, I gotta get it's not 1982 anymore. Like they have,
Too bad.
they can accommodate me, with easy, like all you guys have, man. So hopefully the plan next time we come here, I have headgear that does. I feel like I'm in a space helmet and stuff.
But you look good with the blue lights, the LED lights shining off. You look like Lobot. It's a good point.
Yeah.
You look
Lobot, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, maybe
Lando Calrissian can send you a little message, and you're like, and wake up and go.
I got
Podcast
my-
going.
My
I've got a recipe
dream
for
is
you.
still to have Jason bring us into the episode doing a really, really hard thrash metal version of Star Wars on the guitar.
That,
Yeah,
that
he
will
does
be
it.
fun. That will
If
be
you
fun.
do something, you should do that like just 15 seconds, and then I'll try and do a stop frame animation of a stormtrooper playing an air guitar.
That would be phenomenal. Yeah, my
I-
practice amp is right here. Two of my
I-
axes are right there.
Oh, see, there you go. See, I recently got Steve to do a voice of a stormtrooper for me, like doing some stop frame animation, and he's brilliant. So
It was, you know what? It was a lot of fun because the script was really funny. But being able to see Todd and the disappointment / humor in his reaction to my good job, I felt like his dad to me, the son, attitude, like, "Hey, moron, you're doing such a good job."
I was like, oh, you gotta see that. No, that was great. Let's move on to the next one.
I just think, and I could be wrong, where we would do like a few takes, and then you just like, he's not going to get any better. That was good. All right, let's go on.
Good, yeah, let's move on. And the final product's a whole different voice. Todd, you replaced my voice. No, that's your voice, Steve. That's how good you sound, right?
Wow, I sound like a woman. That's awesome. Yeah, it was a lot of fun. The script was really fun. Yeah, I can't wait to actually see the finished product. So
I'm hoping next week. So
yeah, it's really good. So if we get to see it here, it's really, really funny. So I see by looking at Todd that maybe the stormtrooper didn't get to him, and you guys will know what that means.
Yeah, no, it will happen soon. But yes, trust me, my wife keeps reminding me. But that's a little hint for the future, foreshadowing.
Wait, a wife reminding you of stuff?
Yeah,
Weird.
that happens.
Wait. Okay, that was good. Yeah,
You're free.
I was just making sure. So I'm just thinking about this now. I think this will be the last time Adam will want to be around us, but let's make the most of it.
Let's make it count then, right?
So,
We'll see how tonight goes.
Right.
He may be back.
So Adam's been contributing some reviews of the Bad Batch episodes. So he did last week, so 8 and 9 this week. So go to StarWarsReporter.com and check it out. We'll talk a bit about it, but again, StarWarsReporter.com. You can see his review and other stories and interviews, etc. Also, be sure to follow us on social media. We're on the Old Person's Facebook, the War of Twitter, and the Booty Pictures of Instagram. You could also help us out by hitting the like button, subscribe. Wait, I did that wrong. Smash that like button, dude.
Smash it. Smash it.
And help us out so we can continue bringing this amazing product.
Galaxy of information.
Yes, information. As we say, reporting on Star Wars, Disney, and galaxies near and far, which would be, I think we should start getting into Marvel and other stuff too, right? The whole Disney universe.
Yeah,
we'll get into that.
We're going to talk about
that.
Yeah.
Right. So where do we start, guys? Should we jump into the Bad Batch, or where should we start?
This is your barbecue. I like the smell of it, Steve. You go. You decide where we should go.
Wow, if you were in this room, you would not like the smell of it. It's like a man cave. But let's just jump right in right now to the Bad Batch. Talk about episode 9, Bounty Lost. And I'm saying that because I got the notes in front of me. I can't read my handwriting, but let's just get into the Bad Batch. So where to start?
Sounds good.
Adam, why don't you start us off because you got the great review. What are some of your thoughts on the episode?
Sure. it was another really fun episode, right? And I think I said this in either this review or the last one, is that none of these episodes this far have really felt like filler episodes. Like they all progress the story in a really fun way, and we get to see some very interesting exchanges between characters and some really good character development as, the Bad Batch finds their identity post-Republic. We get reintroduced to Filoni's favorites from the Clone Wars animated series. And we get more lore, which all Star Wars fans love, myself included, right? Yeah. But yeah, we start out with a little tease of a chase between Crosshair and the Batch. And we get to see a little bit of Crosshair's injuries. And in my first review, I was really speculating and sort of thinking about where they could go with Crosshair and how he could maybe, hopefully, I'm hoping he finds his way back to the Batch in some sort of capacity. But I was convinced that, the Empire was going to sort of cast this clone experiment trooper aside and he would find his way back to the Batch eventually. But he looks pretty banged up from that Jedi cruiser. I don't know what everyone else's thoughts were, but I don't know. We'll see if he'll be able to shoot again at full capacity.
I want to say something. Can I say something here? Doesn't he? Maybe it's just me, but doesn't he look like a younger version of Dengar?
Oh, let's look at this.
Right? See, that's what I saw it when the first
never took the band-aids off.
Oh my goodness me, he looks like a young Dengar.
That bandage, I thought I was like holding on to that.
Thank you,
bandage across the side of the head, and I'm like, I thought in that exact shot you're showing, I thought the same thing.
Thank you, because they brought Bosk. I saw Bosk in the Clone Wars. I saw that they brought back not IG-88, but they brought back IG droid in a Mandalorian. Could Crosshairs evolve into Dengar?
I don't know much of Dengar's backstory. Like he
does.
Was already established in any of the books or timeline prior to this. So I'm not too sure, but possibly.
It's a crazy theory. It's a crazy theory.
It is, but you
But-
can't help it. The visual was so strong, when we saw that. And one of the things, and Adam just touched on a bunch, some great stuff. And it's a great point. Like Star Wars characters go through transformation when obviously anyone, it's an obvious thing to say, but when they go through like these extreme, even physical, they're getting their hands, limbs chopped off, and it has like the symbolic. But I was thinking the same thing too. I thought it made me, and this is taking that maybe too far, but I was like, here he is under orders, working for the Empire, and he just got really, really badly hurt. And I was thinking a couple things. I'm like, and you just suggested, you guys, like, is his ability going to be hurt? But also, too, is he going to go back to the Empire and maybe find that they really don't give a crap, and maybe he's going to find in a situation that happens like this where maybe the Bad Batch will end up rescuing him in a similar, not exactly similar, but you know what I mean? Like something, he's chasing them and something goes down and he's almost going to get killed or whatever. And Hunter ends up like saving him. Like maybe the Bad Batch will show Crosshair, look, man, we actually care about you and we still have some heart. And what's happened to you through the Empire, they've taken away all your empathy and all that. And maybe through circumstance that like you're suggesting somehow maybe this incident was a first to sort of steer him. And that I know this is a bit of a reach, but
right.
Maybe not,
Right.
So I want to go back to something that Adam said too, is the fact that every episode doesn't feel like a filler, right? So far, there's no, and I think the reason why that is because opposed to Clone Wars, where you had all these different characters, right? All these different characters, you're going to have one of those filler episodes every now and then. But right now, there's not a lot of characters. You have the Bad Batch, right? And you have Crosshairs, and then little characters, the Caminos, and all this sort of thing, right? And you have, but other than that, so there's no other characters really to focus on except for the main characters. Therefore, you're building story, you're building character, you're always telling that storyline, and I'm pretty sure Filoni sees that those are probably the most popular episodes. They don't have to fill, like, usually on commercial television you have to fill 24 episodes, right? So therefore you usually have to fill in filler episodes here and there to make that 24 episode thing. But now they're only producing a certain amount of episodes. What, 16 is it? So therefore they're getting rid of all those filler episodes. I think focus on story,
right.
Which I find very, very good strategy.
Yeah, going back on to what you were talking about, Adam, on Crosshair. I think I said this last week when we were talking about Crosshair's injuries. I was hoping that maybe he would show up with some kind of like really cool armor. What they do with Darth Vader got injured, or like Kylo Ren had armor. He wasn't injured, but in episode 8, he had that big scar, and they ended up kind of dropping all that, and he got the helmet back. But some kind of Star Warsy kind of like villain mask and stuff that he has to wear now to make him scary. That would be kind of cool. And personally, I hope he doesn't get redeemed. I hope he stays on their back. And then, of course, I say this every single time we talk about the Bad Batch, that they all have a Rogue One death at the end, except for Omega, because that'd be terrible. She's a child, right? It's like we don't normally kill children on TV. So, and before we go on, I just want to mention, Jeremy said no hat tonight, Trooper Todd. Like the look. So
thank you.
Forget about it.
Yeah, forget about it. Yeah, obviously, maybe Jeremy missed the thing. I want to see if my hair gets all curly by the end. So, see if it gets afro.
We get to see Willie again tonight. He says Darth Maul's injury, those legs. Yep.
See?
Or, yeah,
totally.
Darth. Yeah. So that's
totally.
what I
Those
hope they kind of do, right?
They work in robotics so cool. It would be interesting to see if they do something similar with Crosshair. It would be super cool.
But he doesn't look that. I mean, he is flying the ship and chasing after them. He's missing the ship because his perspective. Maybe he's shooting with one eye. But I wish we didn't see him in that beginning chasing him. I wish it was like he was injured. Next time we see him, he's being raised up on this bed, the bed, going no.
Well, maybe we have to wait till the end of the podcast for that. But
Exactly.
I'm-
You know,
maybe,
he
like,
gets up and
robotic
we see
headgear
this,
would be
right?
cool.
I'm still leaning towards Danger. Like I would be stoked if he became Danger. Like you got to think they finish the storyline. You know, they all go their separate ways. He goes off to become a bounty hunter, and because he has all these scars, so he wears bandages on his head.
Right. Jeremy's sticking to the redemption arc. He'll be back with the batch, maybe in the
Oh,
final
me too,
episode.
Jeremy.
Yeah.
I'm a Steve.
I
I
think.
Go ahead, Adam. Go ahead, Adam.
Oh, I was just gonna say, I one of the comments was about Dengar having a backstory, and I do remember a bit about his backstory. I think he had a history with Han Solo.
Oh, that's
Didn't
right.
he have like a little bit of a competitive history with Han Solo? I forget. Honestly, I haven't read it in a
I
while
think that's
now.
right.
But
As you're saying it, I kind of recall that there was, yeah.
But
So
does it
yeah,
live in the universe though? Does it live in the cinematic universe? That's the question, right?
totally. Maybe there's going to be some sort of amalgamation with Crosshair and Dengar, and reformulating him into something that could fit nicely into the cinematic universe.
See the Mummy guy. Thank you, Willie. Yeah, that's right. The Mummy guy. Like, people know about Bosk. They know about Boba Fett. They know about IG-88. They know. I want more Danger. I want to know more about him.
I always used to think I'm like that poor. We always used to wonder, like, man, that dude is in really bad shape to be like walking around. Like, what the hell happened? Like,
Yeah.
I'm like, Vader got the good deal. He got this fancy robotic suit and he's badass. Dengar, they wrapped him up in bandages and pushed him out the airlock. We're like, go hunting. Funny.
I was just trying to. God, I just lost my train of thought. Someone else
Appeal to your notes, Steve.
appeal to my notes.
I guess we can continue with the episode. Like we pan right after
go back.
that. We get to jump.
Yes.
There's
jump.
yeah,
I forget.
there's a lot
This is
in
the
there.
point where we go back to the exchange between the Kaminoans, where they're sort of debating, what do we do at this point? Oh, well, we got to send, we got to make a deal. We got to honor this. We got to get Omega back, sort of thing. And that was sort of interesting to see how, we have these threads where each party, the Empire, the Kaminoans, and the Bad Batch, are sort of trying to achieve their goals or work towards their end game, but the way of going about it is so conflicting, which makes the story interesting.
Yeah.
And we kind of talked about that last week about who was the one that hired Cad Bane to do this, right? And then it was revealed, right? It was the Kaminoans. So.
And now we know what they want her for too.
Yeah.
We didn't know that last week. Now we know exactly what they want her for. That she's one with the original, the not bloodline, but she's the most purest form of that gene. I guess is that what it is, roughly.
Well,
yeah,
she's kind of
DNA.
but she's also from the same. Like she's basically Boba Fett's clone sister.
Yeah.
So she's like, and then I was watching someone talk about that. It's like they said that there was an anomaly with her, or there was a mutation. And so I guess you would think right away, well, maybe they're talking about, because there's something different about here, right? We speculated last week, maybe they're working towards her having the Force. Maybe they still are. Maybe her mutation, because she was basically a Boba Fett, mutation was she became a girl. So that was the mutation. But it does, so, they're going to probably give her Force power. So you have someone who is more connected to Jango Fett than the clones are, as Boba Fett is. So you're going to have someone who is a Mandalorian like Jango with Force powers. That's going to be pretty. It's going to be pretty
Which
strong.
the potential for that is just insane. The Empire, of course, would Palpatine would jumping all over that.
What?
Like
that would bring big dollars. Yeah.
Yeah, and right, extremely valuable. I think it's possible. Now, I thought the earlier episodes were more bold about hinting about that, and now it's almost like, to me, I'm not quite as sure about that. Like, I thought early on, I'm like, this girl is like, she seemed to have all this ability, and I almost feel like the show has reeled her back in the last 3 or 4 episodes or so. Like, so that's just my personal feeling. Like, she's kind of fallen back into more like a regular girl, whereas in the beginning she seemed like she was like really good at everything, or potentially was. I'm not so sure. I'm not sure the possibility. I mean, that's an open answer to me. It's definitely possible, but I don't know.
But again, they come in red herrings to throw you off, and then they're throwing you off again. Like, who knows, right? Like, again, they're spinning a good tale, and we're everybody's talking about it. Here we are, right? They're getting the exact reaction they want. People don't know what's going on. They give a little morsel every time, but they're not answering all the questions.
Right.
That's what wants us keeps us coming back every Friday to find out what's the next little tidbit they're going to give us. Like they give us a lot of tidbits this week, I thought. Like, the fact that we know that they want her for what they want her for. And quite frankly, they don't want her. They just want that, what she's made of, right? They want that genetic code, right? So another interesting
like her herself, like, as they said, like, I think it was Lamasu that was like, get her back here, get the genetic code that we need from her, and then terminate her.
Yeah, exactly. So now we know, like it's not like they want to raise her and keep her safe. They want her for just that.
And I
DNA.
wonder why, even if they get her back, like, they need to terminate her. Is it, maybe just because she's already just out of control and unable to be controlled by them or by anybody, and just no, we want her genetic material, but we want to raise them from birth exactly how we want, I guess, because they like not Terminator. Like, why would you terminate such a valuable commodity? I guess, well, you get the genetic material, then you don't technically need her, but what about her? I mean, isn't she valuable still?
Well, the thing is, they obviously can't control her, so maybe that's why she's expendable.
Well,
she's
right.
Not,
so that's the
obviously,
thing, I guess. Yeah.
She's a free spirit, and they don't want a free spirit, possibly.
Yeah. Right.
Totally. I think that's opening another can of worms if she's force sensitive. I was convinced she was in those first couple episodes.
Hey, so are we?
For sure.
Yeah,
for sure she was.
Exactly.
And then, Jason, like you said, I think they totally reeled her in. Like it totally seemed like she had some sort of foresight ability,
yes.
Whatever that may be. I think the reveal of her having first generation Django DNA alongside Boba, I thought that was pretty cool. And I'm hoping that's not her only mutation. Like, I'm still secretly holding out hope that she's force sensitive. I'm sort of starting to believe that now maybe that, being female was the mutation versus, Django's original DNA. But I'm still curious about what the phase 3 plans are. Like, what do they have in store for Omega with the first generation DNA that would be enough to keep the Empire around?
Right.
Do they want the Empire around, you think?
Well, I thought some of the motivations of the Kaminoans was to keep that contract alive and keep the money flowing for future experiments. So I don't know. It's tough to say.
Because they already, I mean, obviously, it was the Republic that bought, their finest clone army ever, and which really became, under control of Palpatine. So they got to look at the Empire as the number one. That's our number one buyer. We keep them happy.
But to me, it's clear the Empire seems not interested in clones at all. That's the sense I'm getting. So I don't know. I think that maybe they're trying to look at somewhere else. Like maybe, I don't know. But the Empire doesn't seem interested in clones at all.
Well, not in the ones that are pre-existing. Have they said in the show, like, are they just done with clones completely, or is it just the existing ones that they'd want to get rid of?
I think it's the existing ones. I think when you had what's his name, Tarkin, was talking to the other kind of general guy. I think they're kind of done with the clones. They're kind of moving on, and maybe they want to do something better.
And the other general wants humans. Like, we'll go to the planet to get the people. Like, he doesn't. He has no plans for clones in the future.
And I think it's a way for them to like integrate to the people. Like, look, we're really good.
We'll give you jobs.
Rule over yourself.
Yeah.
So Willie has a question here.
To that.
Oh, sorry.
Go ahead, Al.
No. You go ahead.
I was just going to say, to add to that is, the conversations between the Kaminoans is they can't keep that Jango Fett DNA alive current series of clones either. So you have all those mixing pressures forcing some interesting story.
Yeah.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah, no, that's true. And it seems like I don't know what their motivations are. They seem kind of sneaky. Whereas I don't know how much the Empire knows of what they're doing. Like it almost feels like Omega. I could be wrong. I've missed something. That Omega, like they might know more about Omega and are not letting the Empire know. It's kind of their own baby. Like, are they going to try to do something
Absolutely.
for the other side, or you know what I mean? Are they playing both sides, the rebellion and whatever? So they just kind of.
This episode definitely, it made the whole Camino thing definitely, and as Adam, you kind of said, definitely more intriguing, And I had another huge question, but it's kind of more at the end, but it's about with them Lama Su and Ton Wee, and by the end of the episode, I was like, wait a minute, what just happened? But that's kind of at the end, so maybe I'll say
let's wait. Yeah,
you guys may get to that anyway. So, and I'll go. That's what I was talking about.
Yeah. So Willie's question here: do you think when Kenobi or Sifo or Sifo were on Camino, something happened? Yeah. Yeah.
Well,
I mean,
how long was the Clone Wars? That happened before the Clone Wars started, right?
Well, that makes me wonder what Willie's saying. When we're talking about Omega, which did she come in? Because we're talking about how they're sort of almost like, like the twins in a way. Did she come about at the same? Is she the same age? I mean, I don't mean like enhanced or anything. I mean, did Boba, son Boba, and Omega come into being at the same time, or not? That would affect what Willie's asking about, perhaps.
Boba, I mean, they could have taken DNA and just got around to it because
Because I think, from my memory of the Clone Wars, Boba's a little bit older already. Like, it seems like Omega's still quite younger, where Boba was at the beginning of the series of the Clone Wars, and we got some update on Boba's narrative throughout. So I'm kind of thinking that maybe Omega came after, which, I mean, Willie poses a really interesting question now, is that, maybe the Kaminoans thought of a contingency plan when Kenobi visited Camino and got into a tussle with Jango. Who knows?
That's actually a really interesting. That's a really cool thought, possibly. And it's funny because Jango actually, which kind of is some of that question. I mean, Jango was like, well, I want one for me, when, that's why they made Boba. He wanted his own special one. So, yeah, that poses an interesting question about that then with the Caminoans, almost the same way. Like, well, wait a minute, we want to make like one special one for us. I don't know. Yeah, no, it's all very interesting. I love Camino anyway. I love the environment. I love the I just love that stuff. So I'm actually really excited by all of this.
All right. So, yeah, let's move on, get on to it, because I know Jason's dying to we got to get to the ending and get some of those questions.
Oh yeah, no, it's not a big deal. It's not even a big deal. It's probably a dumb question anyway, but we'll go forward.
There are no dumb questions, just dumb answers, Jason. Did I get that right?
Yeah, so I guess we proceed on to Cad Bane's cruiser, where we get to see Omega sort of find a little more of her own cunning abilities, outwitting Toto 360.
Yeah, there he is.
We get Cad Bane entrance again. Man, I love Cad Bane.
Oh,
I love that they brought him back.
This was almost the best representation of him. Totally.
The Western space theme that they had, like when he slides down the ladder
immediately,
love it.
Yeah, yeah.
His performance
he had those
was
toothpick pots too. Yeah.
Go ahead, Todd. I'm sorry.
No, I was just saying the toothpick too, the Western thing. I don't know where he gets a toothpick in space, but he had one.
He was almost like over the top the character in this, but it was still perfect. Because even like you said, like the Western thing, the music, and he's standing there, I'm like, they almost went even further, with what he is, almost to the point of ridiculousness, and it was awesome. Like,
You
He's
got it
so
right,
cool. And
partner.
the show looks so good. I was just visually, this latest episode visually, I really love too. Just the
See,
environment and Cad Bane and something like it looks so cool, man.
we talked about the week before too, there, Jason, when you weren't there. Like how I'm just talking about how everything's like a few episodes before, everything was dark. It was very cinematic. You know, remember when Wrecker went crazy? You know, it was very horror like, right? The lighting was very horror like, and then you had the one afterwards again dark. You know, with Crosshairs coming down, and this one you had all the mist, right?
Yes,
It just
good.
added a great kind of like, you know, Western. Like it's like, you know, all we're missing is a tumbleweed flying by, right? It had just kind of grit and dirt and just, but again, totally different from the dark. But again, they're really creating moods with the show, and that's I was going on about the detail last week, how like the blast burns or hits a wall, you see it there, it's glowing, and it kind of dissipates as it goes along. You see this scar on the wall, right? Like little stuff like that. It's just everything looks so fantastic and over the top, and just making it look so realistic, right? So at the same time, creating a great environment, mood where you feel like not only you feel like it's I know it's science fiction, but you feel like it's believable, right? The whole thing is about making it believable so the audience can buy into it. And I think they're doing an excellent job with that, with the location sets and just the overall feel of everything.
Yeah, agree totally. And just like the environment for the confrontation between Fennec and Bane. And I was just thinking exactly that. I'm like, and I'm not comparing it to this on an even level, but I just mean, you know, Luke and Vader on Cloud City, and they're, you know, the environment was so much a part of how you felt. It was such a killer, this massive installation, and it was so beautifully done.
This thing here.
Yeah, and the environment in this, exactly what you're saying, Todd, and it really amplified. I love the thought in Star Wars, The Empire Strikes Back did that to me, when you get two very powerful, influential characters and you put them in this epic place, but it's isolated. I love that. You know, I love two powerful characters and this massive place, but it's a ruins, or it's just far away from the main part of the galaxy. And I had that feeling with Fennec and Cad Bane. I'm like, this is a great atmosphere for this.
Yeah.
And something that Adam mentioned earlier, the fact that you know, really the Bad Batch characters weren't in this. This was an Omega story, right? Like, you know, she did a solo episode, and she carried the weight. Of course, you had two amazing complementing characters to help tell that story. But you didn't need to see Wrecker, you didn't need to see Hunter to make it a good show, right? And that's another tribute to the storytelling too, where you don't have to have the main characters to make a good show. And again, didn't feel like a filler episode.
Totally. Yeah. Jason, I'm going to piggyback on your point. I totally got Cloud City vibes, and that took me back.
Yeah.
That was so cool to see that. And, you know, even when, you know, the bounty hunters come out of the mist and sort of duel, that was really cool too.
It was like a melding of Cloud City and Camino. It was like almost a 50-50 to me. And because when he first landed, and then Stevie just showed that shot when Cad Bane's ship came down. Yeah, like there's a Cloud City, like, you know,
environment, landing pad, everything.
Right, landing pad. And then but
the
when they get in there,
similar.
Then you get the Camino part of it too. They mixed, and I really loved it. I really liked this episode a lot for that. And the confrontation, and we got Omega. This was one of the stronger episodes for me. And we got a little more, I don't know, it just had a little more with Cad Bane, and it just had a little more peril in it. And I liked this one.
Yeah, he was really brutal, right? Like, I mean, he is the one hard ass that Omega is not able to soften, right? We made comments in previous podcasts where, you know, you have the hardened soldiers of the Bad Batch being their hearts being thawed out by Omega, right? This kind of old stories and stuff, but not with Cad Bane. He cares nothing about that. But
his job.
Speaking of the confrontation, it's this photo right here that, or this shot right here when they're fighting, and she gets him in this arm lock, and that's why I made kind of the cover.
Yeah, I love the cover.
All that reminded me of two things, you know, say it. So you remember Christmas Story when the bully would got Ralphie in the lock and they had to say uncle? Yeah. I thought of that. And the other thing was in
Scott Farkas.
In Bloodsport, one of the greatest movies ever, martial art movies.
Are you sure about that?
Mateo. Remember he had to say Mateo, and at the very end, no, it was there was a few things I liked about Bloodsport, but yeah, I was actually shocked when Fennec had shown up, right? So, you know, kind of her motivations were revealed, right? She's not there to get her, to bring her to harm. She's there to protect her, right? And then it turned into this big fight, which I don't know anything if Fennec is a new character or somewhere in the EU, but for as much as everyone was talking up Cad Bane and how scary he is, and then even my own research, you know, looking in, I mean, Palpatine hired him. He would like fight Jedis like no problem. In the Clone Wars, he had a lightsaber fighting who was it, Obi-Wan? Like, he's just like bad to the bad to the bad, and I don't know, you know, how Boba Fett would compare to him because he's so nasty, and it seemed to be a quite easy fight for Fennec in this. So I thought that was kind of funny, right? Like,
I was thinking that too. I'm like, Cad Bane, how I think of him, I'm like, Cad Bane should have. I mean, that's cool. She gave him a hell of a fight, but I thought the same thing. I'm like, Cad Bane should be is portrayed as a little more powerful than she is. So I thought, I'm like, you know, cool, Fennec holding her own for sure. But I thought the same thing. We're actually getting very close to my big sort of questions, and
we're getting there. Are we? We're getting there. We're getting there. Okay.
You're such a tease, Jason.
Yeah. I agree. Though I was surprised that she was able to handle herself so well against Bane. Again, I don't know this other character that much except for being in the Mandalorian, but again, it's still very entertaining. I was surprised. Not saying maybe a little disappointed, but because Bane is so cool.
Now, did I understand this wrong?
Super surprised.
Yeah, sorry. Tong Wei. Is that who it was? Was she killed?
Now we're getting there.
Tong Wei was killed. Yeah, Lama Su was the one that hired Fennec Shand.
Yeah, wasn't Tong Wei like in the prequels? When Obi-Wan shows up, Tong Wei
she was the one that met Kenobi.
They met Kenobi and showed him around.
She was like the ambassador and the right hand person of Lama Su. And that's getting to everything that I was like, okay, wait a minute, which is very interesting. And actually, Jeremy even just made a comment.
Yeah.
Now, this episode, I'm like, now, if I didn't see this right, we'll see what you guys think. I'm like, you've got the Camino guys now. You've got opposing factions because did they not both, a Camino, two different ones, hire bounty hunters separately, which now pits Camino against each other. So that was one thing. So you've got one, and when Fennec at the very end of the show turns around the hologram, I'm like, wait a minute, was that Taun We? We saw Taun We get killed, right?
No, it's the other one. I'm not good with the names, but
was it somebody else that was killed in Taun We? Because Fennec turned around when she was on her ship leaving at the end of the show, and she turns around and she talks to a female Caminoan. And I'm like, is that Taun We then? I'm like, was that a
I thought that was Lama Su. I thought Lama Su was the one
I thought
that
it was
sort
a
of
female. Was it?
Omega,
it could have been.
From the old.
Yeah, exactly.
And then the
Prime
Minister was the one that hired Cad Bane.
Yeah.
And Taun Wei was killed by Fennec Shand. And then we see Lama Su. So we have these, each Kaminoan high-ranking official is trying to play their own game a little bit.
See, you can't trust them. I was right.
When I
obviously one wants the DNA. I think the other one wants to keep the other one safe. Obviously, right? So, I'm guessing she wants to keep her safe. Maybe because she has plans for Omega. But again, it just creates more questions, right? Again,
but there you go. And you guys have said, and even in the comments, people have said how the neutrality of Camino is very interesting. They teeter on both sides. So we may start seeing a fracture with them, where some of them do have some compassion. Actually, they're not evil, perhaps, and whereas maybe Lama Su doesn't care at all. See, my thing, and I'm actually going to see if I can bring it up on my screen. When Fennec at the end of this show, and you guys may be right, it was Lama Su that she saw on her ship, that came up in the hologram. I thought it was a female that she was talking to at the end, but I could be. I'm probably wrong though. But I may even call it up right now and take a look.
I thought there was two females. So maybe I'm getting really.
So who's
confused
the other
too,
one?
but
There's Taun
I don't
We,
know.
and
I
then
can't remember her
who's the
name.
other one? Not even name.
I thought it was the Prime Minister was the male one, and then
Yeah.
Tonwei and Lama Su were the female ones.
Exactly. That's exactly it. And so the one that catered to Obi-Wan Kenobi back in the Clone Wars feature film, she died because she was the one sent to, and then she died. The other one, who obviously was told to, once you get the DNA sample, to terminate the Omega, she's the one that wants to protect. Because obviously, clearly, her facial reaction was, "Oh no, I don't want that Omega terminated." That's
Lama
her facial
Su's a
reaction.
guy.
Oh well.
Lama Su is a
Oh,
male.
really?
Wow.
Yeah, Lama Su. Unless I'm wrong about that, but Lama Su is the guy. He's like the main administrator guy.
Well, it sounds very
Taun We
feminine.
was his right hand. So there you go, though. Like, because I don't think that was. And again, I could be wrong. And here's a debate for us. I don't think that was Lama Su at the end of the show talking to Fennec.
I'm with Adam. I think it is.
Okay.
Oh
Let me
yeah,
see if I can
just
figure
looking,
that
you're
out.
right. Lama Su is a male Kaminoan.
Yeah.
No idea.
Wow.
There you go. Doesn't sound very male-ish, but it's okay. Not all males sound male.
All right. Then it's, you know what? It's Ahsoka.
It's Ahsoka?
Let's
It's
just
Ahsoka, there you
call
go.
it now. It's Ahsoka. She does
Jar Jar.
everything. So
Jar Jar. Making his way back.
no, we would recognize the voice.
Okay.
Trust me.
It's been years. He got rid of his speech impediment. He can change.
I was going back to the one point. I was a little disappointed that Fennec Shand was able to so easily best Cad Bane. I will say it was cool how she bested him, and the fight moved into the abandoned cloning facility. Though I thought that was a really, really cool shot. Sort of reminded me of the Force Unleashed video games with like weird cloning experiments. I thought that was super cool.
Yes. Agreed.
Yeah.
I think Jason's listening for the voice.
He's like, wait a minute.
I was also speculating that maybe Cad Bane has an injury. Like he had when he tipped his hat early on, there was a big plate on his head that wasn't there in the Clone Wars.
Yes, I noticed that too.
He bested Kenobi in Kenobi's arguable prime in the Clone Wars.
Yeah.
So to be taken down by a rookie bounty hunter, I mean, I'm a huge fan of Fennec Shand, but I'm also a huge fan of Cad Bane. So I kind of had a few questions there. Maybe he's injured. Who knows?
Right, and it could have been just a device to make to have Omega able to escape. But I think it shouldn't. I maybe would have written it differently, where Fennec was maybe leading him away, and Bane was so mad that he was trying to get her. He was like, "No, I'm not letting this go," and it took him away from Omega escaping because he wasn't even thinking about that at the time. But it just seemed like, no matter what he did, she had an answer for it and had all the cool moves. It just seemed weird to me for such a new character to then do that to an established old character, which maybe is the trend. Maybe it's just the way it's done now. But
well, I think Adam did something really, really cool. You just brought up a point, the fact that yes, that plate in his head shows some kind of significant injury, and which again, it's a visual cue, maybe not strong enough. But now that you're mentioning that, going, yes, I did notice that too. That's a visual cue. Maybe Bane isn't the old Bane as good as he used to be. It's because of
I did hear a couple rumors that maybe that's part of like an unaired fight he had with Boba Fett, because I guess the rumor out there is that the blaster mark on Fett's helmet is from Cad Bane. Yes. So maybe there was an exchange of injuries in a duel we never got to see, or maybe we'll get to see it in the future.
Would it be kind of cool seeing the Book of Fett? How cool would that be? Saving it for that show?
That'd be maybe this is maybe this is off color. We have to. Someone had pointed out there was a picture of Boba Fett, and he has that dent in his helmet. He also has a dent on his codpiece. And someone said, I don't know what show I saw this on. They said
he got kicked in the
basically
junk.
someone shot him in the crotch. Someone must have shot him in the crotch. Like, what kind of monster would do that? Right? It's one thing to get shot in the head. But I just think that's funny. I have to go look that up again to see if that was actually a
Cad
den.
Bane might be the ultimate marksman.
Maybe,
Head
yeah.
groin, who knows?
Splitting the boys down there, is he?
God. In the
That's
goodie
funny.
bag.
Maybe it'll be a Fennec shot. It'll turn out to be, but
Hey, just for the record, it's not Lamasu at the end that Fennec was speaking to. It's a female Kaminoan. It's
not the same
Lamasu.
voice. I know
It's
it
not
sounds like the same
Lamasu.
voice.
It's not Lamasu. It's a female. It's almost. I thought it was Tawn Wee at the end. I get it can't be her unless there's like some fake thing going on. But it is
Right.
a female, very clearly female voice, and doesn't even really look like. So I don't know. I don't know who that is at the end, who she's talking to. Which would make
maybe.
sense though,
I
because
seen one
you've
of the
got
comments.
Lamasu on the one side, and then you've got whoever Fennec's trying to save her for. So you have to have the two opposing Kaminoans. So
Yeah.
but if
Totally.
it's not Tawn Wee, I
Maybe
don't know.
Jeremy was right in saying there's, maybe a second Kaminoan was hired, or was just the facilitator. Maybe Lamasu didn't want to get too close to it, and told somebody else to facilitate the bounty. Who knows?
Well, Lamasu's the one that wants her dead, wants the genetic material, and wants Omega back, wants the genetic material, and wants her dead. And this other side or whatever apparently, wants Fennec to try to keep her alive. And
Right.
I'm just not sure what that side is. So that's the one big mystery for me with all this.
There's a lot of mysteries going on.
Yeah,
Who's that person? We don't know who the person is. We didn't write the show, but we're still entertained. We still want to find out next week.
Right. So, Adam, you had pointed out kind of at the end some of the conclusions or some of the questions about the episode. And one of the ones that I thought was really interesting, and I guess a lot of people are talking about this, is what is the connection between, if any, Omega and Grogu?
There's a connection?
It just seemed to be carrying the same storyline. You know what I mean? Like, so at a point, it's like, okay, so you have the soldiers protecting a child, and then the soldiers get all warm-hearted by this child who's a chosen one, who has special abilities that, needs to get somewhere. Mandalorian, tough bounty hunter, finds a child, gets warmed, whatever. Child special, has to get somewhere. It's the chosen one. You see where this is going? So and it's the same writer. It's not like we could say, man, that writer's stealing everything from Filoni. Same writers, right? So what's happening? So is Filoni gonna at some future episode, is Omega gonna show up in Ahsoka's show?
Yeah.
Is older Omega or whatever, right? Going to show up in
Mandalorian.
season 3 of The Mandalorian, right? Like, is she going to be Jedi? Is she going to be a Mandalorian because of her Jango Fett connection? Blah blah. Like, what do you guys think?
Well, Jason and I mentioned, we talked about this before, episodes back when we watched Mandalorian. Like, to me, again, we're talking about Filoni possibly replacing Catherine Kennedy, right? They're building a universe, much like Marvel has done and has done very successfully. They're now doing a very similar thing where we've seen people from Clone Wars showing up in Bad Batch. We've seen people from Clone Wars showing up in Mandalorian. We've seen people from cinematic Star Wars movies showing up in Mandalorian, like as in Luke Skywalker, right? There's a lot of crossover. They're creating endless possibilities, and they're doing it very well with stories to engage people to buy into possibly another run on a trilogy film franchise, and we forget about maybe the sequel one that didn't go for so well. That's what I think.
Right.
Yeah, well, and you'd hope that to be true, actually, because Disney kind of is shaking our faith with being able to do that after the sequel trilogy. So,
like, make a story, make a plan,
Yeah, so there's a concerted effort. They're like, oh, let's, they got all realized, let's do it right now.
Well, that's exactly it. Let's do it right.
That we did.
And come on, they tell me they're not doing it right, man? Like, this show. Is this show not better than what we thought going into it was going to be? Like, this show, like, I'm starting to really like Clone Wars in season 3. This show is way better than that. You know what I'm saying? Like, again, I haven't so far, but like it's really good. For
This hasn't ousted Clone Wars yet, not for me.
well, I'm not there yet, I guess. So
it's got some work to do that for me.
I'm on
Yeah,
season
I
3.
agree.
So.
I agree, Jason. I think Clone Wars was pretty damn spectacular. There was a lot more filler episodes.
Yes,
Todd,
that
I
was
think
the one
that
big
goes back to your point. Is
criticism.
there's so many characters and there's so many storylines that you have to progress, but the good arcs are pretty damn good.
Well, and they are. Again, I'm only on season 3 of 7, so I got a ways to go still. But,
Clone Wars kind of did what you're saying, like in itself.
yes.
Like Clone Wars, although it did have, that was its one big thing, and it did have it had too much filler, Clone Wars, where I'm like, but when it got going to the good stuff, it was like the best. But it kind of did that. It had so many shows that you had reoccurring characters and plot lines and, oh, that guy again. And Clone Wars did it in itself. And it's almost like, that's why I was a little, you guys have done it, or well, Clone Wars has done it anyway. So that was almost a map to me of parallel with the Marvel thing where, maybe not to that extreme with all the movies and everything, but Star Wars is, to me, it's already shown like, you can do that. There'd be no reason not to be able to do that.
Right. So going forward after this episode, I'll start with you, Adam. What are some of the questions going forward? What are some of the predictions, right? From what we've learned so far and all this that's going on, what are some of your thoughts or questions?
I'm still curious about the phase 3 plans. Like now that we know Omega is a first generation DNA clone or has first generation DNA material of Jango Fett, what are those contingency plans to keep the Empire interested? And with that in mind, will we get to see Boba? Because now we know that Boba is the alpha or, the other first generation clone. So is there going to be renewed interest in our favorite bounty hunter? What else here? I was really hoping for a Cad Bane Hunter rematch, and I feel like maybe that fight between Fennec Shand and Cad Bane took away from that, because we see, maybe melee and up close is Cad Bane's weak spot. And I was really hoping to see Hunter get a little bit of redemption from taking a blaster to the chest plate, but who knows? I'm excited for what we're in store for.
Mm-hmm. Well said.
That's good stuff.
Yeah.
I love the idea of Boba Fett coming in. Sign me up. Absolutely.
Yep.
If he does come in, I don't think he's going to take. Geez, I'm sounding all Western because of the theme of the show. I don't think he's going to take too kindly to Omega. I don't think it's going to be kind of a rivalry, because he was the unaltered favorite of Jango. Now you have this wannabe. You have this created, sister, or this Omega. And I don't think it's going to be like I have a sister and everything's going to be happy. I think he's going to be a real jerk if it comes to that. He might want to try to kill her, like everyone seems to be wanting to do in this show. But of course, I could be wrong. But maybe he'll want to steal her and do what Jango did for him, right? Like, I'll train you.
But he won't be that much older, because he was a kid in the Clone Wars. Right? I know that happened in season 3 where Boba Fett was trying to take out Mace Windu, right? He was just probably her age now, right? So he won't be an adult. He would be an older teen.
When he was a kid, though, I don't know if this counts anymore in this story, but he was ruthless as a kid, right? After Jango, well, even with Jango, but I mean, that's how he was taught. He was ruthless. So, don't judge him by his age. As Yoda would say, don't you judge me by my size. Don't judge him by his age, because apparently he was just absolutely ruthless. So what if he's like, he's a few years older than her, and maybe he's like, I can train you, because he's like, he must be living and thinking like an adult now, right? You watch your dad's head get chopped off.
He was raised by bounty. He was hanging out with a lot of bounty hunters too.
Bounty hunters, and I think he's just so much more matured, even though he's so young, and he could do one of two things, right? Say, "Nah, you're not, part of my dad trying to kill her," or say, "I'm going to take you," and that would be cool to have that side of it, and that be the ending, right? And then she shows up in Ahsoka, and she's been trained by Boba Fett, and she's not so nice, and I'm just looking for this like weird, terrible ending. Apparently, sorry, maybe it's because I haven't had enough coffee.
I don't mind the idea of the Bad Batch, going out like Rogue One. I like that idea. I won't lie. I like that idea.
You know who else is going to go out with like Rogue One? I think what they introduced, the thing that I've been obsessed with on this podcast with the Camino, the two-side Camino. Now, this episode in the very beginning, that was another question I actually had. We saw like an Imperial officer talking to whether it was Lama Su or one of the main Camino,
yes.
And just like, look, just, and then he told Crosshair, look, just go get rid of him. I think we're seeing the siege planted. I think the Empire, and maybe not even too long from now, actually, is going to be, we've had enough of this. And I think you're going to see Camino. The Death Star doesn't exist yet. I think Camino, the facilities, are going to be destroyed by the Empire.
Yes, I agree. I agree 100%.
I think you're going to see like a fairly large scale, like a Star Destroyer is going to come over Camino and just send down waves of fighters. And I think they're going to say, we've had enough. Because Camino's now looks like it's starting to fracture concerning the clones. And the Empire,
they're playing games for
more and more is like had enough with the clones and all of that. So what do you do? I think the Empire is going to destroy Camino. I don't know, physically the planet yet, but I just mean they've got the firepower to take them out.
So I just know. Go to the comment again, Jason. Go to the comment again, Steve. I just noticed this now. The Ewoks are looking over the screen at me. Sorry, I just couldn't help laughing because I see the Ewoks looking at me. It's okay. I think it's hilarious. Sorry, I apologize.
Sorry, Adam. What were you saying? Sorry.
I was just saying. I think it would be interesting. Like, it'd be awesome to see the Empire come in and steamroll them because everybody loves that. But it would be interesting to see if there was some sort of like invasion similar to like the Siege of Mandalore, where we get to see them invade Camino and sort of take in their scientists and their experiments, and maybe that's what bridges us to the Mandalorian, where we see them try to keep the cloning experiments alive.
Right, and that's actually a better alternative. Yeah. I'm saying go in, they're going to annihilate them, but that's probably even
take what they need.
Correct.
They'll
kill most of them, and they will. But they'll keep any scientific and all the good stuff. They'll take it.
Yes,
they'll take it.
They'll
kill and take it.
Agreed.
That's what they do.
That's what they do.
All right,
because we got to start seeing that. We got to start seeing the Empire be evil and do that to a lot of different planets. Like on one of these shows, we haven't really we've seen in the original trilogy they destroyed Alderaan, and Rogue One we got but the Empire, this time period is a chance for the Empire to live up to its reputation.
Right.
Okay.
So dear Dave Filoni, more killing.
Yes, that's what I want. I want more.
Maybe this is where we get a Vader reveal too.
This is the Rocker coming out of Jason. He's like, more death.
Yeah, death. I want epic battle.
No. That's
Star Wars.
Yeah.
Not Star Escape.
There you see Jeremy. There you go. Beautifully said. Exactly.
Yeah.
The appearance, I can guarantee you the Imperial March will happen.
This will be a peak time. The Empire's on the rise, man.
Well, they have shown some hints of the Empire. That when they're trying to escape that planet. Remember, the family trying to get the family out there, and you get a sense of that maybe the Empire isn't so great after all. Like in the beginning, it showed that everybody's excited about the Empire taking over. Then this planet clearly shows that the Empire might not be a good thing. So again, I like the slow rollout. Right, there's going to be a big plan for this sort of thing. If they're going to go seven seasons,
but
they have a lot of time to show that.
But they could do a great plan. So if they're going in and they're going to wipe out Camino, and they're going to do that, right? And the citizens will be like, "Wow, that's pretty terrible of them." All they have to say is that the communion on Camino, they were starting to clone Jar Jars. And then the whole population would be like, "Oh, okay,
Oh God.
okay,
Yeah.
that really freaky looking emperor is really cool. Sorry about that. We'll continue doing what you want." That's just my guess. That's my prediction.
I think you're bang on. Write that one down, and we'll seal it in an envelope.
It's already written down. I'm writing my list for Filoni.
I think season
Favreau, for that matter, because
the end of season 2, maybe something
more
like that.
Jar Jar, more Jar Jar.
Why not? Why not? I got back here. So
Miso think that's a bad idea.
I bought this from a flea market out of town, and I remember seeing it on the shelf, and I thought, this is so funny, and it works. So I go up and I'm buying it from the counter, and I swear the people are looking at me like I scooped dog crap from outside and said, "I'd like to purchase this, please." They were looking like, "What a weirdo!" But here, I'll take your money. It was so funny, just their expression. And my wife is embarrassed. She has no idea why. It's just because Star Wars, right? And stuff.
And on that note, we'll see you next week, everybody.
Mark Hamill, sorry,
go ahead.
No, I was going to make another dumb joke.
It's an interesting story. Like my wife went out with the kids to the mall, and she I'm really proud of her. She actually looked at the shelves, and she sent me this picture. "Do you want this?" And I said,
"I have that. I bought that." Right here.
I said, "Don't touch it. You might get a virus from it." So yeah.
Oh.
So
wait.
Oh, it's phenomenal.
Yeah. No, I'm sorry. I'm sorry, not getting it, Steve. I said, leave it there.
I love
it's a black
shield.
series.
He's actually got the shield. That's badass, actually.
I haven't taken it out of the package because I'm an old guy with toys and I don't play with them.
No, you don't play with toys. What the heck? It's the exact same one. Yeah, the exact same one.
Yes. And you should have bought it because they're going to be
gone.
I could
have. I said, you know what? I said no.
Wow. Here, let me just put this.
Jeremy's on your side.
I actually bought this today, Todd, because I know you like to go out and buy a figure, and what I didn't do is it's not Star Wars, so I did bad. Whoa, but it's this guy, Thor. Now,
nice.
I was looking for the fat Thor, which is the superior Thor.
Of course, the fat one, of course. Yeah.
But yeah, look, his arm moves and he doesn't stand really well. Yeah, and he's got the. Whenever I say Hammer of Thor, it sounds like I'm talking about an internet movie that
exactly
I watch. So,
well, it's easier to say Thor's hammer than actually what it is. Mjolnir.
Yes, you said it.
Oh, there you
Mjolnir.
go.
Yeah. So
Mjolnir.
Yeah. So, anyways, I wanted the superior Thor. And whenever I say that, I was like, he's the better Thor. My oldest daughter's like, no.
I know.
She's wrong.
My wife, for some reason, was disappointed in that part of the movie when he was fat. She's like, I didn't like Thor as much this movie. I don't know why. I think I know why.
Yeah.
Whatever.
You look like your husband. That's why you didn't care for him so much.
Yeah, we were trying to get away from this.
That was going to be my Halloween costume because I have most of it naturally. But there's no Halloween because the world is closed. But all I needed to do was basically dress like I just had a tip of my tongue. The Big Lebowski,
yes.
Just house coat. I'd get a wig, sunglasses. I have the hammer back here, and I would just answer the door, and I would try to do Chris Hemsworth accent to the kids. And I'm like, "I'm Thor." They're like, "You're not Thor," and I'm like, "Dumb kid, I am Thor. I have the hammer. See, look, try to pick this up. Don't touch it." But I had it all planned out, but then we weren't allowed to do anything. So
check out the comments. You see, James ahead of it says, "You got it, Todd. It's pronounced hands dice." For people who don't know, Steve got me a gift. It was Han Solo's dice, the dice from Star Wars movies, which
because he hated it. He was
because I hated it.
The dumbest thing ever. So we bought it for him.
The dumbest thing in the Star Wars universe are these dice right here, and and so yes, they should have called it Han's Dice.
So I just want to move on to just a story if we have time. I talked about this before we went live. And it's a story that a better part of a year has been going on. But Wayne, who's been on this show in the past, sent this to us, and it's a story. A galaxy of volunteers help make Lino Lake's boys' Star Wars inspired wish come true. So basically, let me just pull the story up. His 14-year-old Alexander Knudsen was diagnosed with leukemia when he was 8. He's a huge Star Wars fan. His wish for Make-A-Wish was to act in a Star Wars fan film and have his family take part in it as well. So there's a video. I'm going to post the link in the description and in the article that people should go and watch. And basically, they have over 100 volunteers in full costumes and the stormtrooper outfits that are making this film, and you're probably going to see it released later next year. But what an amazing thing! And it just reminds me of, and we talked about this. It's ironic. Adam's on a show doing a paper on Star Wars fandom, and here we have Star Wars fans that come together for such a good cause on this.
So cool.
Getting together to donate their time, and it's a lot of work. You should see the film and kind of the process that they have to go through to make this film, and they're not half-assing this. This looks amazing. I've seen some behind the scene pictures, and it's looking really awesome. So there's that feel good Star Wars moment that the media sometimes is not reporting on, right? Because there's so much of this, right? You have the 501st doing that, the Rebel Legion, and anyone else connected to Star Wars is just out there doing these things for this kid, and I can't wait to see it.
It's an amazing story how Star Wars has the ability to connect generations, right? You have us who are old. You have Adam, who's a little bit younger than us, and you have this 14-year-old kid, which means the world for him, right? And then you have all these people coming together. It's just an amazing connection story, and just how Star Wars has that ability to do that.
Yeah, and that was always the beauty of the fandom. It always did feel that connection from generations and just all kinds of people, and then to do something like this, which I hope it does get more widespread in the news. Things like this definitely do, because it just all harps on the negative, and we all know the toxicity and all of that. So yeah, no, that's an absolutely beautiful thing. I can't wait to see what they've done, what they're working on.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
totally. I love when Star Wars, brings us together. And you guys are right. Like the fandom menace and the negative aspects of fandom that really separate and divide each fan is often reported on. But we need more about how Star Wars brings us together, and it does in so many ways, and we all get connected. And it's great to see a feel good story like this. Like, my heart goes out to that kid and his family. But I mean, it's great to see so many fans just dedicate their time and their efforts and really make this amazing, and create something good, not just for the kid, which is great, but for everyone. I mean, fans love getting involved.
Absolutely.
Yep.
Definitely. Message from James. Hi, Adam. I'm the residential Salacious B. Crumb, trolling from the crowd.
The Salacious B. Crumb. I love it. That's great.
Yes.
Love it.
Yeah. Yeah. So that's, and you're right. I mean, we've been kind of fans, the old guys, for what, 50 years, right? 40 some years.
77.
Forever.
So
I don't know.
Yeah.
850 years, right?
I
And it
was
just never
42.
ceases
not
to.
the same as your father.
42 years.
And it's funny how it keeps going. Like, again, my daughters aren't into it anymore because I failed as a parent, but
Not only you, buddy. Me too.
I just wish I could be alive for another 42 years just to see, well, maybe sometimes just to see where Star Wars goes, right? You're like, maybe not, but yeah, I just thought that was a really good note to kind of end off in, instead of we had some other stories, but I think I'll skip those for another time.
There's always
That
next week. There's
That
always
was
next
fun.
week.
That was fun tonight. I look forward to next week because that was a lot of good stuff tonight. And
Yeah, Adam, thanks for joining us.
Yes, sir. Absolutely.
Oh man, of course, that was a lot of fun.
Yep. And I'll be looking out for
Always
our
happy.
community.
Always happy to contribute some crazy theories.
Crazy.
Yeah,
That's
sure.
all we want here is crazy theories.
Right.
That's why I want.
Absolutely.
He wasn't, or Fennec wasn't talking to anyone. She was talking to. That's
Jar Jar.
That's who was
He's
on.
the mastermind behind it all.
He is.
He's
You
the
guys
mastermind.
Call me a conspiracy theorist, but we're going to see him again.
It's
We should
Jar
see him in
Jar
everything.
pulling all the strings. Yes,
He should be the next R2D2 and C3PO and everything. Just like shows up.
just shows up everywhere.
That would be
Going forward.
great.
Well,
And
Star
why
Wars
not?
is from Jar Jar's perspective. You all know this, of course.
Well, of course. Later on, he's gonna be closing a book, and Miso thinks that's the end, and it's like that's it, right?
He hands it off to R2 sometime.
Yeah,
before we
exactly.
go. He's like, "You take over. You tell the story."
And on that note, and this, Todd, you got to get this. Let's just cut it off here before we lose anyone that's going to watch ever again.
We've lost them.
Adam blocks me on social media and everything else. That'll be great. It's like I can't send him emails. It keeps being forwarded. But I'd like to thank everyone in the chat. Our usuals, Jeremy, Willie, James, I guess, for joining us. Everyone else who didn't talk in the chat that was watching us, thanks for joining us. And make sure, like I said before, I'm going to put this up because our faces are ugly, except for Adam. Follow us on social media. Check us out at StarWarsReporter.com. And see you next week.
Hey, before you go to the Steve, I would say like I'm gonna cue it up for you, right? So what's Adam gonna say if we ask him to join us again? No!